apparently Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are angry with each other. And like low key, like, well, it was low key at first, but now like Nick Fuentes has responded to Tucker Carlson's statement about him living apparently in his mom's basement. And Nick Fuentes like really went in. Like it's like, we'll start with Tucker Carlson statement here. This is his conversation with Candace Owens. We'll start with what he said that I guess triggered Nick Fuentes. And we have to ask this question. Is this issue between Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes a class war? Is this what this is really about? Listen to this. Tucker Carlson talks to Candace Owens about the weird little gay kid, Nick Fuentes, attacking Joe Kent and being a controlled asset used to discredit people on the right. All right, again, it starts with Tucker Carlson. Listen.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like I truly, like we almost said, like we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
It's clearly.
And then it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he like just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that
could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on.
Yeah. Or it's what you're saying, where he does this, he's lying to everybody and pretending that things are one way when it's not. I can say
why is he attacking Joe Kent, who?
So Tucker slipped that in there. He said the angry gay kid thing. Look, Nick Fuentes at one point attended Boston University. He has been identified as, this is how they describe him, identified as a white supremacist. He has been banned on multiple platforms. And it's interesting too. He's supposed to be a white supremacist, but he's also like, from what I understand, half Mexican. I'm so confused. I'm just so confused. But at one point, it seemed like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes were all on the same side, which is, pro-Trump, at least in that angle. But I don't know why he threw in the angry gay kid thing. Like, I just don't see why that was relevant. But it gets crazier. Listen to this.
I mean, Joe Kent worked as a CIA contractor, paramilitary contractor. He was in the U.S. military for years fighting our neocon wars. And his wife was killed in Syria in one of those wars. Joe Kent is the single most sincere critic, and I would say the one with the most credibility in the United States to say this foreign policy is bad. It killed my wife. I was a part of it. Joe Kent is actually someone the CIA doesn't like at all because he understands how it operates. And for Nick Fuentes, who's like some child from Chicago, to go after him specifically, one congressional seat in Washington State.
It is random.
It's not random, though. It's the opposite of random. Joe Kent was number one on the list of people they wanted to knock off, people who believe in our neocon foreign policy. They wanted Joe Kent out because he could stand up and say, I actually know. I've got the receipts. My wife was killed in Syria. You had to take that guy out. And Nick Fuentes, this child, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago, is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life.
Pause. So again, there he goes with the weird little gay kid. Like, why does that matter? Like, and I don't even know if that's true, but I'm just saying, like, why do you need to throw that in there? Why is he still calling him a kid? Isn't Nick Fuentes an adult? And then he throws in the basement part of this conversation. So then that's kind of like, I don't know. Is this a class thing? Because listen, there are quite a bit of people that are living in a basement apartment or their parents' basement or whatever. That's the way it is today, Tuck. That's the way it is. So I just didn't understand, like, why not point out the issues that you have with his statements, with his policy, maybe ideology, without throwing in the classist and also the anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. To me, I just don't understand why that was thrown in to be part of the conversation.
I know what that is. It's just an organized effort.
Yeah.
And he also did the thing that David Duke always did. including to me, which is be like, oh, yeah, it's my friend. And everyone's like, oh, Tucker Carlson's been endorsed by David Duke. I've been making like the anti-racist argument my whole life.
Right.
Like, I'm not for David Duke. Do I think David Duke is right when he's against affirmative action? You bet I do, but I'm not.
Who hasn't David Duke endorsed at this point? David Duke has come out to endorse, Democrats, et cetera. I told you, I really do think that David Duke is a plant for the Democratic Party to use against candidates that are not pro-Israel. I really do. It's happened so many different times, but his name just seems to keep coming back up.
For David Duke, but David Duke would try to discredit people by hugging them. And that's exactly what Fuentes did. He goes out there, meet all these people, show up, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. Can I get my picture with you? That's a campaign to destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And I know I'm inviting endless trouble by saying this because, this is a kid with a lot of spare time, but it's just a fact. And I've seen it a lot. Yeah. And I, you can believe me or not, but I know what I'm talking about.
I can confirm he's dishonest. I mean, so it's like you use that as your, like, I could not determine what his motives were. I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I gave you a fair chance, gave you a fair shake, and you are a fundamentally dishonest human being. There was no reason to do it. If he had not done that show and screamed and yelled, his followers would have been like, oh, that was an interesting conversation between two people who agreed some, disagreed some, and like that was it. It was interesting that he got there. He doesn't want to be, and I can tell you that he doesn't want to be anywhere but where he is. He doesn't want to have normal relations. And it did sort of feel, and I said that to him, that he's like responding to orders somewhere, because why are you attacking me?
Well,
why are you attacking Dave Smith? What is the issue with Dave Smith? And he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
He couldn't answer the question. He was just like, well,
the fakest thing I've ever seen.
And I'm like, why do you hate Dave Smith over Joe Rogan?
Yeah, man. So Nick Fuentes did respond and obviously had issues with what Tucker Carlson said. One thing that he shared here, he said Tucker claims he was shocked to discover his dad was in the CIA upon his death in March 2025. But here he is in June 2024 admitting his father was CIA. Why did he lie? Oh, boy.
And so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is. And I tried to join the CIA, but I'm not being false about it. Native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So,
oh boy, this is not good. And so they put up the dates here. Richard Anderson, February 10, 1941, of course, Boston, Massachusetts. Died March 24th, 2025, age 84 in Florida.
No one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
And
oh boy. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good, but that's not even the craziest part. I say you may be shocked. It's this part right here where Nick Fuentes really, really goes after Tucker Carlson. And a lot of this, I think, stems from the interview that Nick Fuentes had with Candace Owens. Then afterwards in the interview, there was argument back and forth between Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, where he was not happy about her giving a microphone, I guess, to Harvey Weinstein. So there was back and forth there. But holy moly, here we go.
I'm being accused of being the CIA by Peter Thiel's best boys, by Tucker Carlson with his daddy. Tucker Carlson's, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Tucker Carlson said I'm a weird gay kid in the basement. Yeah, and I'm from Chicago. You're right. Well, okay, you're not right about all of that. But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think, oh my God. This is why I wonder, I'm like, this is a class war that's happening here. Because yeah, Tucker does come from a well-to-do family, like very, very well-to-do. But that's why I said, like, when he was critiquing his statements, the best thing Tucker Carlson could have done is not bring the class issue into it, not bring his sexuality, even if that's, I don't even know if that's true, but alleged sexuality into it, just focus on the issues and not all these other things. Because the basement remark, like I can tell you, there's a number of people that are living in their parents' basement, adults living in their parents' basement, trying to save their money so that maybe they can get a down payment on a house, if that ever happens nowadays, or they can get their own apartment. That's not uncommon, but I feel like Tucker Carlson doesn't understand that because he's cut from a different cloth. I feel like Tucker Carlson is from a bubble that most of us are not from. And so if you never had to take time to save money so that you can get something better, then you don't really understand that. So I feel like he could have left that part out of the conversation. It gets crazier, guys. Like I said, you may be shocked. Check this out.
But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want to talk about me and them? I am them. He says Nick Fuentes is leading all of the disaffected young white men. I am a disaffected young white man. I was a precocious, intelligent, young white college student who went to Boston University, who was pro-Trump and red-pilled by Trump and animated by Trump's message of America first. And I asked questions about Israel, and I was punished for it. I did it years before Tucker Carlson started talking about Israel last year.
Oh,
and I sacrificed, and I was targeted by the ADL, by the SPLC, by the federal government, by the conservative movement that both Candace and Tucker were a part of.
This is another part, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I think you're hearing some other things about some of the people that were criticizing Israel and what they were doing. And Nick took it to another extreme, but criticizing Israel and what they were doing when it wasn't popular to do so, like long before October 7th, it sounds like he might also feel some type of way about the fact that, according to him, Tucker and Candace are saying it now, but I guess he's kind of like, where were you before when it wasn't popular to say those things? So Nick Fuentes has been kicked out of a lot of spaces, and Candace and Tucker have not. And now it's like Tucker is basically using the class issue against them as well. So this is getting, this is dirty, you guys. It's getting dirty.
Candace and Tucker had nothing to say about Israel until it became unavoidable last year. Not popular, but unavoidable. And now they want to gatekeep me out and do this personality attack and say I'm a bitter loser in my basement from Chicago. I'm a kid from Chicago. And they slipped up there because they forgot for 1 second that they're pretending to be the spokesperson for exactly that kind of person. Tucker's mask slipped, and he forgot for a minute that for 8 years he's been pretending to care about the plight of weird kids in their parents' basement who are broke and didn't go to an Ivy League school, living in cities that don't matter like Chicago, not like Washington, D.C. or L.A. or New York. And that's why he had such disdain and contempt for me in that moment. Between the personality attacks, he's lonely, he's weird, he lives in a basement. I'm sorry, did you guys forget that that's your target audience that you're trying to pander to? Did you forget that for 2 seconds? And I'm the inauthentic person? I am that person.
Yeah, this is the part that he doesn't think about. And thank you for this. FM says being ostracized by how you were born is a bitch, ain't it, Nick? Exactly. Exactly. Really sucks, don't it? It really sucks for someone to come after you just by the way that you were born.
I am a spokesman for the disaffected white man because I am one, and you two are not. Candace Owens got married to British royalty worth $200 million after meeting him for 2 weeks on Zoom. What the fuck is even that about?
Is that true? And I heard this. I was going to ask the viewers, is that true? Not that matters, but is it true? Maybe people can tell me in the comments. Like, this is getting deeply like. I told you it's funny. Like, he's going there. He's really going there. Oh my God. Mason said yes, it's true. Really? After 2 weeks? God damn. Like, what? Oh my God.
And Tucker Carlson's dad ran the CIA's propaganda empire fighting the Soviet Union. He went and fought with the Contras when he was in college. When I was in college, I was doing a webcam show in my friend's dorm room criticizing Israel. So who's the CIA cutout? Who's the inauthentic one? Who's the crazy, hateful one? I would never describe a well-meaning young white person who's trying to get ahead as a weird kid in his basement from Chicago. And what is that supposed to mean? What is wrong with being from Chicago? What is wrong with being weird? What is wrong with living in your basement? That's a lot of people because of the problems you claim to care about. Tucker's at Turning Point USA extolling the predatory nature of usury and how it's preventing young white men from getting homes. And then the week after says, you're in your mom's basement. So which is it? Do you care about Klarna and people going into debt to order pizzas and home ownership being impossible? Or do you think that's a contemptible, low status thing to be ridiculed and mocked?
Yeah, this is Janine said the amount of mic drops. It's wild, man. Yeah, this is a really good point. Someone said in the chat, they said, what's wrong with being, oh yeah, Sally said, what is wrong with being gay? Yeah, I feel like Tucker Carlson really didn't have to mention that. He could have left that part out. But like I said, I don't even know if that's true, but I just don't understand why he had to say that.
Who's pandering here? Exactly. Because that wasn't you. You were born to the Swanson family fortune and your daddy who ran the CIA. You know, my dad didn't even graduate college. My dad worked for the tollway. His dad died of a drug overdose in the 70s. My mother's father was a garbage man in Chicago, and he committed suicide. He was a veteran of World War II. Who's the CIA cutout? Who's the poser? Who is America?
Ouch. This is brutal, you guys. I told you it was pretty pretty crazy here. T Niga says he is definitely a white supremacist. Yeah, he is. And that's the other thing too. Like, but you wouldn't see Tucker, like, they're not really getting into that though. It's just well, yeah, I don't know. And and Justice said, Sabrina, many Mexicans are white supremacists. They just don't express it in the same ways that white Americans do. Yeah, that's a good point as well. But this is wild because what he's doing is, I guess, it seems like to me what Nick Fuentes is doing is that he's talking about the class difference. He's talking about how he didn't come from, the type of upbringing that Tucker Carlson came from. Like, it sounds like he came from a blue collar family and Tucker Carlson came from a family of wealth. And that's why I said Tucker Carlson would have been better off not mentioning the class issue. Like, if you just disagree with what he said, just talk about the statements. But instead, the whole basement thing to me is cringe and is off-putting to quite a number of people, particularly in a time right now where the economy is still struggling. And your average Gen Z person in the United States can't afford to buy a home. And even some millennials can't afford to buy a home. So it's an out of touch remark, in my opinion.
I am America. Chicago is America. That's an American story. I didn't go to Yale Law School and suck Peter Thiel's dick and then get a sinecure at a venture capital firm advising Rebecca Mercer and writing hillbilly elegy and talking about it at the Aspen Institute. That's your biographical credibility? How? many of these disaffected white people that love Trump because he's racist went to Yale Law School and got plucked out by Peter Thiel, whoever he even is? Peter Thiel, with his fixation with the Antichrist, this homosexual who's involved with the CIA, wants to live forever and govern the world with AI. Yeah.
And now here we go again with what does his sexuality have anything to do about this? You see what I mean? Because Peter Thiel, there's a lot of criticism that you can make about Peter Thiel. You know, another rich billionaire who really wants to surveil all of you. You talk about his surveillance. You can talk about, you know, his connection to PayPal mafia. You can talk all about that, how he basically created JD Vance. You can get into all of those things, just how corrupt Peter Thiel is. But once again, you really ain't had to get into his sexuality. This is where I think some people just lose the fight. They really do. Stick to the issues.
That's really relatable. That's really relatable. Do another show with him and Curtis Yarvin. Do another show. Do the 47th show with JD Vance. It is insulting, and it is insulting to everybody's intelligence for Tucker to sit there and say he doesn't know his dad is in the CIA, for him to say that I'm in the CIA. What a joke. What a sick joke. Especially after everything that's happened to me. And unlike what Candace Owens says, she says, what happened to him when he was 18? What happened to me is ongoing. Okay? Unlike Candace Owens and Tucker, I never got a contract with Ben Shapiro and Rupert Murdoch. I was on Maker Support. I was on Patreon. I was on D Live. I had to fight for everything I have. I didn't get $1 million contract from Turning Point. I didn't get $20 million from Fox News. My daddy didn't get me a job in Arkansas.
Damn. Well, ladies and gents, if you didn't know much about Tucker Carlson's background, I guess you do now. But this is just kind of came like blah. You know what I mean? That's why I say you may be shocked. They all used to be on the side of, I guess, supporting Donald Trump and like the vision that he has or whatever. But it took, like Tucker Carlson said, that one statement. Tucker had that one interview. And it seems like Nick Fuentes watched that and just said, I'm going to destroy this dude. This is the class war, right? And I point this out because look at it this way. Both Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are white. Nick Fuentes says he's a white American. This is about class between those two. That even at the end of the day, money talks. And I don't know, like maybe Tucker Carlson wants to interview Nick Fuentes, maybe he doesn't or whatever, but it's kind of like the people who risked everything or kind of lost a lot versus those who didn't lose anything because they played the game the right way. Now, I don't support Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson or I don't support any of these people's like political ideologies. I don't share that ideology. But there is something to be said for those that like Tucker and Candace. I guess to what Nick is saying is that they played the game and that's why they are where they are. He did not play the game and that's why he is where he is. And I guess he feels as though they shouldn't look down on him because he wasn't willing to play the game. But that's how this business works, folks. This is how it is. And particularly YouTube media. Nick Fuentes is not on YouTube. I think he was kicked off. But in alternative media, I will call it that because some of the people ain't even independent. But in alternative media, this is how it is. Like people, hey, some of us have really gotten it. You know, some of us have really gotten it because we didn't move how we were told to move. Me choosing not to support Kamala Harris, I took a great hit for that, especially socially. I took a great hit for that because there were certain people in the space that got mad at me because I didn't want to play their game. And I said, no, I'm not going to support Kamala Harris. What are you going to do? You going to support Trump? You going to support Trump? Like, no, I'm not going to support Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for Jill Stein. And so, yeah, that's how it is when you don't play that game. They will, and then they start making videos about you and start saying how, oh, they're trying to smear you and everything because I didn't want to play the game. Opportunities that presented itself to me, same thing. It sounds like Nick Fuentes may have had opportunities, but turned them down. There were opportunities that came my way that I turned down because it's not what I believe. But there are some that are willing to play that game. And those are the people that, for the most part, I think they seem to get more airtime. And I think that's what Nick Fuentes might be alluding to. Just letting you know, because things could have been very different. Now, I worked my ass off, but had I taken the opportunities that were offered to me, things would have been very different. Very different. And I think you would have seen me in other spaces. But I said no. I said, because I'm not going to support Kamala Harris. Sorry. That's how it is, man. You don't play that game, you out of here. You are out of here. Justice said it's a private club and you ain't in it. Yeah. And it happens on both sides too. So, hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.